Hello. Yes, sir. You hear me okay? All right, I hear you.
You hear me now? There we go.
Oh, this is good. Okay, we got you.
Yeah. Technology at its finest right here.
It's true, but my face your face look good, but mine's dark. I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's all right. What am I doing here? There we go. How are you this morning or this evening?
Good, good. Now I'm here in U.S. So I got I probably have a few, maybe like 30 golfer client from Asia.
Okay.
So they all between, I would say, class of 21 all the way to 26.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and more, and all of them want to come here for U.S. College to play golf.
Okay.
So,
That's what your academy does, right? Prep them for that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they eventually they have to come here, every year,
Right.
before they get recruited. So it could be a good thing. How far away from you from Pinehurst, number 2?
What's that?
How far away from Pinehurst?
Hour and a half.
Okay, it's not bad.
Yeah. Not bad. Straight down for me from the shop is straight down one. I mean, it's very easy.
Okay. So I would say, I'd probably start out with an introduction a little bit, maybe 1 minute or two.
Okay.
I'm just throwing to your way. If you can speak about, your experience, your background a little bit here and there, and we take a question from the floor. So I would take the whole thing like 15, 20 minutes.
That's fine. I'm at your disposal this morning, so it doesn't matter.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So how long you been doing this?
22 years.
22 years. And do you have to pass certification or anything like that, or?
Early on, I did. There's no mandatory certification. A lot of guys just do it, but there was a group previously I belonged to called the Professional Club Makers Society, PCS. And it was a group of us that it was formalized. They did testing. They gave you accreditation in certain areas, and they held a yearly conference / workshop thing in Louisville, Kentucky, where they were based. And we'd go there and we'd meet distributors and manufacturers and talk to, other club makers from around the world. Actually, we had guys over in Asia, Europe, Australia. They come into this and, we'd share stories and techniques and how we did stuff.
Okay. So, and you were one of the founder of that group?
No, I wasn't. It was, I came in probably 4 or 5 years after they originally started. I was introduced to it because I was looking for something more organized, because it really wasn't, I mean, they have the books out and stuff you can do, but for me, one-on-one or having someone show me something works better for me. And I was lucky also where I started in Northern Virginia. There was a couple guys that were very educated, very, what am I trying to say here? Experienced, and they actually had their own shops. And so they would invite me in to spend a day and I would learn from them. I'd watch them, see how they did stuff, and just kind of learn through them, pick up bits and pieces.
Okay. And I thought nowadays they have like like Titleist club master.
Yeah, and I've actually been a Titleist fitter, a Callaway fitter, a Ping. I actually did the 3-day class in
Uh,
Phoenix, Ping certification, which is actually probably one of the better ones because it's very, very thorough. But that's to get a cart to put on a course, and then you have to do the cart fittings and stuff. Titleist, Callaway, maybe a 3-hour session in an afternoon, kind of giving you the broad basics, but it's really, really, really basic stuff. It's not like at a level even I was used to at that time. That
okay.
it's very formal. It's just like do this, do this, do this, and that's this. But there's no, they don't sit there and really look at the person. It's like, okay, look at this, and you did this, and here I'll measure you this, and boom, boom, boom. And they, most of the time they get it pretty close, but not as much as I'd like to see.
I see.
So,
Yeah, because in Thailand that's where most of our client is.
right.
They big talk about I'm a Titleist cup fitter. I am a Ping cup fitter, but now we know it's only take 3 hours to get those certificate, right?
Yeah, unless it's changed, it's really just, the guys who do it are generally club pros that are trying to generate more money on the side. And, do they really understand the equipment per se, type of thing. And usually the carts themselves, unless it's one of the really good carts, you've got some that are like probably double the size you would normally see. You don't really have a lot of options because you got length and shaft, and there's so many variables. It's really hard to do, but it can get you in the ballpark, and I learned a lot doing it. Don't get me wrong. It was a great base education for me when I was doing it earlier on, but I realized how restricted the manufacturers really are. They can't do as much as we'd like. And even if you did, like Callaway, you call them up and say, hey, I need to order a set of this and X, but I need the lie angle base, the 6-iron at this number. Well, they'd come in and it wouldn't even be, no one had done the loft and lies. That's the biggest issue I have with custom clubs.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, let's get people in. I got 3 online.
Sure.
Great.สวัสดีครับทุกคนครับ
สวัสดีครับคุณจอห์น
ครับสวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับครับพี่ครับสวัสดีครับโอเคสวัสดีครับ All right, so 9:01. We just wait for everybody for 1 more minute, and I know it's not like the most sought out webinar or information today, but it's the most important thing. If you play golf, you gotta get the right equipment. This is will separate you between a good golfer and the better one and the best golfer. Without changing all the stuff. So it's really, really important, and I happy to see how many people, 6 of you joining the web webinar today. So we can talk more about your equipment. We can ask any question to our guests today. So, all right, so let's get one more in line, and then we ready to go. Okay. Okay. Thank you again, everybody, who joining us today, and welcome to one of the most, for me, would say one of the more exciting Zoom call that we have so far this year, because equipment, I can tell you, now, and I keep telling you again, it's one of the most important thing. And for
Mm-hmm.
myself, I experienced with Mr. Curtis a few times this past months already. You know, a lot of call emergency, Mr. Curtis, could you please help me? You know, it's one of those things. If you know him, I'm sure that your game will get better and faster soon. So I, wrong behold, want to introduce you to our special guest today, Mr. Curtis. He from Cup Guy. Well, good morning,
Good
Curtis.
morning
Good
or good
morning.
evening.
Yeah, so everyone on the line is a golfer, and they're all our client with the agency College to Coot, and
Excellent.
I'm actually want to share them. I told them when we invited them to join the call is that this is my special secret. I like to keep as a secret, as a close circle, so that way we, not everybody, because there's only one person can win the tournaments. And
Good point.
yeah, so it's going to separate between the winner and the runner-up. And
Mm-hmm.
expertise from you and everything else that you can provide it today will help them a long way. But thank you again for your time.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Glad to help.
Okay. So why don't we start with you to give us a little bit of a background of
Mm-hmm.
and why you see as the important thing changing in your world, and maybe we can open the floor up for everybody who have a question about their equipment, so that way we can learn
Sure.
all about each other. Well, thanks again, sir, for joining us
Yeah.
this morning.
Glad to be here, and I'm glad I have an opportunity to speak to y'all. Yeah, I've been at this over 20 years. I kind of fell into it happenstance. I worked at a driving range in a full-time capacity as a manager up in Virginia, and we started doing regripping and repairs and stuff like that. And I realized that there was probably a better way to do it. So I dug into the books and I talked to people that do it for a living, and I grew the business out of that. And one of the advantages I picked up at the driving range was you could see after a while, you could see how the equipment affected the swing of the client. And I had pros there that taught that they caught on quickly that if they had a client and they were trying to get them to do something with their swing, and they knew the guy was capable, but something wasn't working, they'd bring the club to me and have me check that. And more often than not, the lie angle, the swing weight, something was off that did not allow the golfer to hit a fade or whatever he was trying to get them to do. So from that, it really struck home with me that these little things make a huge difference. I mean, George, I don't know if you remember, I bent your son's putter 1 degree and it made a huge
Yeah.
difference in feel and roll. I don't know how he's been doing since then, but he noticed it right away. And that was 1 degree of loft. And, these things make a difference in golf. And I would first of all urge, if you don't know your numbers, find them. Find out what your lengths are. Find out what your swing weight is. Find out what your loft and lies are, and make sure that they are in sequence. There's a certain sequence they're supposed to be in, regardless of what they are, that everything's gapped properly, and that you have your stuff to optimize what you do when you hit the ball. So, anything else?
No,
But
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
very important to know your number, and
yeah,
as you mentioned about it, it's 1 degree of loft on the putting.
yeah,
It's totally changed how the ball roll.
yeah.
We all looking for a pure roll. But
You're right.
yeah,
Well, and the thing is, you got guys that are very talented, which is the harder part. I fit several guys that were on the Canadian tour back when I was doing outdoor fittings up north, and they're so good. I was working from a fitting cart. We were trying to find, like, a pin guy was trying to find a slightly different shaft, and I'd have to limit them to 2 shots because I could hand them a ladies graphite shaft. They'd figure out how to hit it. So it's like, you got to be careful that, yeah, I'm playing good golf, but are you making yourself do it because you're talented enough to make it work for you? And then at some point, that's going to come up and bite you in a tournament or playing, a certain level. Really knowing your numbers and taking the time. I don't know if you have anybody available that does what I do, but somebody independent that has the machinery and the ability to measure this stuff and get those numbers.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned before is that how you got started about 22 years ago. And there's an association or a group of people that got together and, want to do something better for the whole industry, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And I think they're still, I'm sorry, George, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's still a group of those guys that still go by a different name, and I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure there's some guys over in your area of the world that are certified through them, and it might be worthwhile trying to find them that, I suppose just a generic club maker search or something and see if there's anybody that's actually got a certification by the PCS or whatever this new company. It's an offshoot of that. So, that's the tough part, is finding someone who does what I do full time, and has invested in the technology and the stuff that it takes to do this stuff properly.
Yeah, because as we talk about, we mentioned about when you mentioned about independence, which means basically you don't work for the manufacturer,
Right.
you work for the player. Whatever fits best for the player, you recommend them to do.
Yeah, and if you order something from one of the major manufacturers and you order a certain loft and lie, it's the exception, not the norm, that the numbers would be right. I'm very surprised how often they do something that messes up someone that they are either, they're playing for them, or they the guy here locally who fits Titleist, every time he gets a new set of clubs, he brings them to me to have me check the specs because they never get them right. And he's working for them as a fitter. I mean, come on, but that's just what they do, so, find somebody who has a loft and line machine and get them to check you out.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what's important thing. Just make sure and know first. You got to know your number. Make sure you go with whoever you go there in Thailand. Make sure you know all the number, all the iron, right? Loft and line for the iron.
Loft and line is your irons. Yeah. Everything else is kind of just, it's tougher because the woods, you got the adjustable woods and stuff, but those you need launch monitors for to really dial those in and stuff. But you also got to know what you're looking at. Sometimes the optimal numbers aren't optimal. It's the combination of numbers. Too many people at launch say, hey, what's my backspin and my launch? Well, what's your swing speed too? It's a combination of all three. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people come in and they'll hand me a fitting sheet and go, what does this mean? I'm like, why are you asking me? Why don't you ask the fitter? It's like, well, they couldn't make sense of it. I'm like, okay, let's go through it, which is sad, because you're paying for a fitting and the guy can't explain to you why it works or doesn't work for you. So,
okay.
Now, it doesn't mean there's not guys out there who don't know what they're doing. There's been guys I've known some ping fitters in Virginia that have been doing it 20 years that are very, very good at it, but they've got the time in doing it.
Yeah. And also you got pressure from different manufacturers that you work with. Like, if you're a Titleist, you fit only Titleist stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And
yeah,
how
and that's
many do you have?
What's that now?
How many certificate that you have from different manufacturer?
None. I'm not tied to any manufacturer. I'm totally independent. I know my whole basis is we're going to find first of all, we're doing a fitting. We're going to find, what shaft and weight category and bend profile works best for you. Now, what club head do you like that fits what you need? Do you need more offset? Do you need more height? Do you need less offset? What kind of look do you need? And then who provides that, type of thing. Then that's got to go to them to order that club at this length, etc. So, but I did Ping, Titleist, Callaway, Cleveland back in the day. I've fitted off all the carts back then. And it's a good learning experience, but it is limited. It's a manufacturing. They are not, they're mass producing. The guys who get all their stuff are the guys. If you guys make it to the tour and go to a tour trailer, you're in for a shock, because that's the real level of fitting. I mean, those guys take the time to walk you through everything. So that's a big plus.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's at the level. Just a little bit. It make it different in millions of dollars. So,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's what the pros do in their off season. They try to get refitted or find something that works better.
yeah. Okay, good. So, all right, this has happened to myself. After we went to see you,
Mm-hmm.
that's the loft of line of the putter. We travel
Right.
a lot, you know. So, and it keeps changing. What would you recommend? Everybody in this call from Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So when they travel, how can they make sure that their equipment is correct when they arrive to US?
Well, as far as your irons go, you'd have to seriously hit them to get them to change. The putters, a lot of your higher end putters, like your Scotty Camerons, your Bettinardis and stuff like that, Perettis, are very soft. It's not unusual to just bump them and throw them off a degree. First of all, you got to get used to them where they're at and know that that's right. So when they do get off, you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong. And then you got to, of course, find somebody who can bend it back. But yeah, I mean, it's really access to having the equipment. Not everybody has a putter loft and line machine. That's part of it too. Being able to test that. Even if they did, like some of the guys at the big box stores may have the loft and line machines, but they don't necessarily know how to use them correctly. They've never been fully trained on them. So you got to just, if it's your putter, wrap it up good. If you're traveling, take extra, put something around the hosel. Make sure if you got one of the softer ones, with like a plumber neck instead of like if you have the double bend, not a big deal. Those are very hard to bend, but everything else, literally, you bump it, you're off a degree. So just, almost wish they made a hard case just for putters. That would work.
That's what I thought is somebody else is making out there, just like a machine gun, there's a box and all.
Yeah. have like a little violin case with your putter in it.
Yeah, great. I was looking for that, but apparently not in the market. So,
Right. Yeah.
all right. So, with that, your location, you in North Carolina, only an hour away from Pinehurst.
Yep.
Right, centrally located in all of the
right
area.
up the road.
They're all coming here. I already have your business card with everybody when they look here. So keep that in mind, and please call Mr. Curtis anytime if you come in the area. Make sure you get adjusted. Make sure you check everything because even a grip. I mean, last time I saw you 2 weeks ago, even a grip could change a big difference. Maybe you can share that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I thought the handicap guy can do all the stuff that they're supposed to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was that first time you guys come? Was the tip, the adapter tip came loose off the driver?
Yeah.
Is that you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just you had it done at the club, thinking, okay, they know what they're doing, but he didn't prep the tip. So just basic stuff like that is just knowing what you're doing. But the grips, if you have a rib grip, has to be on straight, it has to fit your hand, it has to sit up square in your hand. So it's just having the knowledge of those differences that make it works. If you're off, your son knew something was wrong. It's like, hey, I hold this club and the face is shut. Like, well, yeah, because the grip is set up that way. So we had to pull him off and straighten him up. Hopefully he's hitting the ball much straighter now.
Yeah, no, it changed. Everything changed. So that's why I say a spatial secret, weapon everybody need to know here. So with that, let me open up the floor for questions. We got about 10 more minutes. Anybody have question about your equipment? Anything? Not your performance, but equipment linked to performance. Okay, first cap, go ahead. You raise your hand.
Good morning, Mr. Curtis.
Good morning, sir.
So I would like to ask you about the iron because I've been using the Titleist T200 for like 2 years now, and it's
Nice.
it's performed pretty good. But like sometimes with these irons, if I just struck it really good, it can go up like too far from what I wanted. Because like
So in other words, every once in a while when you strike it just right, it goes further
yeah,
than normal?
yeah, because like
Yeah.
my 7 iron average about 185, but sometimes if I struck it really good, it can go up to like 200s.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a problem that there's several variables there that I would look at immediately. Is one, is your swing weight consistent throughout the set? Because that's going to affect your rhythm of your shots. So if you're usually swinging it a certain way, then all of a sudden you get, so when you overhit it, are you more excited? Is your adrenaline flowing? Do you just amp it up? And it's harder to stay in rhythm. The other thing, when you do overhit it, do you generally hit it online or do you pull it?
It just go online. Sometimes it's baby draw a little bit.
Baby draw. So you're online. The other thing I would question is your shaft. Your shaft might be just not quite where it's supposed to be. You may even want to look at, distance isn't everything, but controlling that yardage gap is maybe give you something that maybe only gets you 175, but consistently. You know what I mean? Because you can't afford to all of a sudden be below at 10 yards over the green or whatever. It's like, okay, now I'm in trouble, right? You've lost your lead. So yeah, there's one of these things. It's like, this is really tough because that's something where I would like to watch you swing with it and go, okay, what am I seeing here? Is this a swing factor or is this an equipment causing a swing issue? And obviously there's something about that that's, adding to that. If it was, those T200s, I'm not heard about them having like what we call hot spots, which has happened on some former equipment where if you hit it just in a certain spot, it just like explodes off the face. I've not heard that issue with that line, but what shafts do you play in there?
I'm using the Project X.
Which one? 6.5?
Yeah, the 65 one, Project X.
6.5. Okay. And are you more of a rhythmic swinger or a hitter?
Rhythmic.
Okay, real quick. How's your short game? You get up and down and putt well?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're more of a rhythm swinger. Generally speaking, people with rhythm have a better short game in general. So you've got a good shaft that has a good bend profile, but you're overloading it probably a little bit when you do swing a little. That's like, what you're telling me, that's probably on the upper end of that shaft. I would probably look at something with a little bit firmer bend profile than that. I would go with a C taper. Okay, KBS C taper would be just, I'm just thinking up, I'm going without seeing you swing, just what you're telling me, but that would be, I would maybe go with, maybe find somebody who has a C taper in a club that you can test. It'll have a very much the same feel as a Project X, so you're used to that feel, but it's a much firmer profile. In other words, it's harder to get it to overload. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin.
Good. So, anybody else has questions? Just go ahead and raise your hand. We go from there. Chen Lekap.
Hi, Curtis.
Hello. Good morning.
I'm
Good
also
evening.
using the T200.
Excellent.
I'm also using the T200 irons. I find that I have like a very low spin rate for all my irons. So I was like wondering, no, too low.
Too low. Okay. What shaft do you have in them, dear?
NS Pro 880.
Okay, good. I would say the biggest issue there is, how old are you?
I'm 15, turning 16.
Okay, good. All right. Are you like around, what's your height offhand? 5 foot?
5'5".
5'5", yeah. That's a head design that's probably not good for you, because All right, so to get spin, you have to deliver the club head at a certain angle at a certain speed. You're a good golfer, but for that head design, I like your shaft, but your head design does not lend itself to adding spin. You need something that has less of a blade look, more of a bottom balance, a bit more weight behind, under the ball. Okay? Yeah, it's not that you're a bad golfer, it's just that head style, as much as you like looking at it in the field, is not working for you. You actually have to have probably, if you were taller, you could generate a better downward arc into it. So it has to do with height, width of swing and arc, but I would look at a club that has more, when you look at it, there's more weight towards the bottom. Get under the ball more, okay? I hope that helps.
Do you have any examples?
Yeah, so like the Callaway Apex Pro, the way it's designed, it's got an upper cavity, but a lot of mass below, you know, type of look. What else would I recommend for you that's a good one? That's the only one that comes to my head right off the bat. If you look at that design, look at the back of it and go, that's kind of what you're looking at. Mizuno, you know, has something that has more of a cavity up top and then some mass underneath. Maybe a slightly wider sole, all right? That should generate more spin. Have you also looked at your golf ball to see if your golf ball is appropriate, if it gives you more spin with a different ball?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of them. I think mine's like.
What do you play now?
Pro V1.
Yeah, you're not spinning that, yeah. I have to go with the club head design on that one. That's a design factor. That's how you're built, that's how you swing. You know, that it has nothing to do with how good you are. This is just, okay, it's just not an appropriate head. Find one and get your spin up so you can control your ball flight better. Okay?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Curtis, as far as the iron go, how often did they should come to see you? Like twice a year?
You know, that used to be the case, but nowadays the manufacturers, the forge clubs have gotten so sturdy that, you know, I've got guys that maybe have me tweak them once a year before they go, you know, do like a US Open qualifier or something. And they may be off a half a degree on like maybe a pitching wedge and a 7-iron. They just, I mean, once they're set, unless you hit them against something, they're not moving. It's not, you know, maybe once a year just to make sure, depending how often you hit. If you're hitting off mats a lot, you'll get a little bit, but that's mostly got to be the toe angle. It's not going to affect your loft.
Okay. And for the new equipment wise, I mean, I understand the weight, you know, because you're hitting more, you probably need to change more often. What is this indication you see that, all right, the groove is not there anymore? You know, it should last one out of 1 month.
Usually for your better players like your guys and gals is, you know, they've been hitting it really well a certain amount of time, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I'm hitting it, it's not solid anymore, you know? So it's like, well, am I still doing the same swing? Am I still setting up the same? Okay, I'm doing that. Then it's like, okay, something's happened to my wedge. The toes moved, something's gotten off. Yeah, you need to go have that checked.
Okay, so more like a feeling.
It's going to be very obvious feel-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. All right, first, the next question, please.
Mr. Curtis, I forgot to mention that for my irons, I make the line go more upright by 2 degrees. Is that going to have any effect on the distance wise, or is it mainly just the?
No, that's mostly, okay, so lie angle will, general rule of thumb, lie angle will make your long irons easier to get in the air and your short irons more accurate. That's your general overall thing. The other thing, your lie angle should be set, and I don't know how you guys test. I test with tape on the face of the club, and I want to see the ball marks where they're supposed to be regardless of what the base, if you get it done on the sole. The problem with tape on the sole is it doesn't account if you swing slightly inside out or outside in. No one's perfect, but the center of the face is the center of the face. So distance wise, if that's, I mean, if you're doing that, you're not fighting a hook at all or a pull, you're fine.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Curtis.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, so we're gonna take one last question. Anybody have questions? Just raise your hand. But one more question for Mr. Curtis for today and his time. All right, but for me, sir, with the
Sure.
technology change, you know, everything changed. You know, your new internet, you know, all the stuff, and golf manufacturer got better, and it seemed to me equipment has have more forgiven, you know, along the
Mm-hmm.
line. Let's get two club. The club that we like to spend the money the most as a driver, right? So let's
Right.
get the
Yeah.
driver. How do you see the technology change over time? And if you don't have the new technology now, let's say if your club like 3 years old technology or something, what would you recommend? Within the period.
Yeah, that's a tough one. My rule of thumb is if you don't hit a new club with technology at least 10, 15 yards further, don't bother. If you're hitting your club and you're accurate, you can do what you want to do, leave it alone until you find something that much better. You're hitting it farther more consistently, or it's just you can do what you want to do with it. Yeah, drivers are a big one. I mean, you've got places over here like Club Champion and True Spec that can actually walk you through all the different shaft head combinations and optimize your numbers. Be careful with that. That's great, but you also have to you also have to feel good with how the club looks and feels when you swing it. I've had many a guy said, my numbers with this club were great, but it just doesn't feel right. Well, don't buy it. It's like you're going to fight that. If you've got something that works well, I mean, you can chase distance and everything else, but at some point, I mean, if you're hitting 295, 300 regularly, you're playing. I mean, you're getting around. If you're not scoring, look at, are you putting? Are you chipping? Are you, hitting greens? How's your accuracy? Tracking where you're missing is probably more important. But yeah, I mean, technology is great, but sometimes ping's a great example. They came out with the G10, great club. Came out with the G15, it was a dud. Turned around, redid something, G20, great club. It's like just because it's new doesn't mean it's better. So you got to be careful with that. Do your own testing and don't believe all the hype. Just see for yourself. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, move on.
Okay, so if you don't have a club within this 3-year technology, is that something safe to say that you should get a new one?
No.
No?
No. Like I said, if you go out and hit a bunch of new stuff and you're not hitting them any better, don't bother. I mean, sometimes the technology. Remember, their technology is geared towards your mass consumer, your average person. At a certain level, yeah, you're going to get a little bit more and stuff, but new technology is just that, new technology. It's not proven. It's not stable. There's a lot of stuff that if you think outside the box, don't go with the name brands. Find somebody like Bridgestone, Strixon, Tour Exotic. I mean, these guys make really good clubs. Yeah, they may not have the tech, but it may be something that just works better for you. The shaft has a lot to do with it too. Shaft fitting is huge.
Okay, good. And nowadays, the technology of the from the shaft, it's just more advanced now than a couple of years ago. Or they all...
It's not so much advanced as it is they're learning what works better. What's really changed radically the last 2 or 3 years is torque. I don't know how much you guys know about torque, but torque is very much a feel thing, and it also determines how the club head squares with your swing. So too much torque, the face is going to stay open. Too little torque, the face is going to close, depending on how your hand action goes.
Okay.
But what they've found is they really have raised the torque values and managed to stabilize the club head. I don't know how they're doing it, but I was always a solid 3.0 to 3.5 torque. I'm now playing a 4.0 to 5.50 torque. I'm making the ball straighter and farther. And I don't know how they're doing it. That's all proprietary, but it's kind of messed up what I would normally consider doing a fitting. I've had to reassess with the new clubs. It's like, man, 4.5, a torque used to be sloppy. I mean, you just like all over the place. Now it's like, hell, the pros are using 4.0 of torque. I mean, come on, you know, they're not all super low torque. It's like they've managed to create the feel, but solidify the shafts better. So that's a big change. That's been huge.
Good. All right. So last one in your package, probably the second most expensive one, putter. How important?
Putter is something that I am really big on, even beginners. It's like, go find a putter, putt a bunch of putters and spend the money and get it, because that's going to be the fastest way to lower your score. There's a bunch of different techniques and fitting styles and stuff like that. Putters is one of those things where you got a putter that works. Work on technique, work on your discipline, work on your setup, you know, put the ball in the same spot every time. If it's working and you work at it, it will work. I got guys who've been playing the same putter for 30 years that, you know, they have less than 2 putts around. You know, old technique. In fact, we spray painted the head black again. It was so chipped up. Yeah, but it works. Yeah, it's just, you got to know what you're looking for. Don't change just because it's a, you know, it's a name brand. But it's more about getting it fitted properly. You know, what does it fit your arc? What kind of hosel does it have? Is it a mallet better? Is it straight back, straight through? You know, it's what works for you best, you know, and sticking with that, stick by your guns. So what, you don't have a Scotty Cameron latest greatest, but your putting is out of sight. That's what you want. Stick with it. You know, it's hard because, you know, peer pressure, it's like, what, you're not putting with the latest greatest. Well, I'm also beating you, so who cares?
That's right. And it's 40% of your score from putting.
Oh yeah. Putting is, I mean, it's huge. You just get your putter set up correctly and understand what it's supposed to do. Wonderful difference in what happens with your stroke. It makes a difference.
Okay. All right. So that's it for today. Could you give us a last, you know, the wisdom that they should remember from this call today? Anything that you like to recommend them?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, everybody. I appreciate the questions and I appreciate you allowing me to let me know. And please don't hesitate to email me with any questions if you have them, or contact me. I'm more than happy to help. Don't trust what somebody tells you. You know, if they set it up and you go hit it and it doesn't feel right, it's not right. You know, if it turns out you're supposed to be 1 degree flat, then don't fight it. You're hitting the ball solid. Don't get obsessed with the numbers. Just get them right for you. Okay. And go from there.
All right. Well, thank you. And then for me, I just leave with your with your first beginning of the call today. Know your number. You gotta know your number.
It helped. Be educated. Yeah. I was very impressed with the two that I asked what they played and what their shafts were. They knew that. You wouldn't believe how many golfers I ask and they go, well, I'm not sure what I'm playing. I'm like, no, you got to know this. Yeah. But also know your swing weights, your loft and lie scales. Have them written down. Know what those numbers are, you know, so you can have them checked. Okay?
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Curtis. And
thank you, everybody.
And your sharing experience today. Thank you.
Yeah, very much an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.